Hello, friend. In this episode, we are talking all about meal planning and prep. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. This is the third time I've tried to record this podcast. I never, ever do that. I always just record. Sometimes we have to edit like little things out, but the words are just not coming out this morning. But I am not starting over again. So you're getting what you're getting and you're not getting upset at it. This is how we're doing it this morning. But by the end of this, hopefully I will have somehow constructed a cohesive podcast that is actually helpful to you as you are thinking about meal planning and prep, especially in this new year. I know we always start out a new year with the best of intentions and we're going to be healthy and we're going to be on top of our shit. And part of that is our meal planning and prep. So I'm going to share with you two things, sort of big picture, how things run in our household. And then I'm going to share very specific examples of things you can make for dinner, things you can put in your kids' lunches, because I feel like all of that is helpful to have this sort of mindset shift around how we can make meal planning and prep less of a pain point, because that's what we are all about over here. But also like, what the hell do you actually eat? Right? We want both of that. So that is what I am dishing up for you today. See what I did there? Okay. Let me share with you that I am a terrible cook and I don't enjoy it. So it's like a losing combo when it comes to food. Like I really don't enjoy any part of cooking. I have tried all the things like you put on the music and you get in the flow and it's a great recipe. And then you think about like, oh, providing all this healthy nourishment to your family. And it's like, it's just no, no, no. For me, it's a no. And I'm not good at it. And here's the other thing. I don't desire to be good at it and get better at it. It's just, there were times in my motherhood journey where I'm like, why don't I feel that pull to cook and put healthy meals on the table? And then I just realized that is not who I am. I don't want to be that person. So that is the context for me. But this episode is also for you if you do love cooking and you're great at cooking. Because what I have learned through the years is even my friends who do love cooking and who are really good at it, it becomes a grind to put dinner on the table every night. Here's the other thing. I am not the one responsible for putting dinner on the table every night. My husband has taken that over since the pandemic, and I'll give you a little bit more background on that. And it's still a grind. Granted, I do make sure that our children are fed and that their lunches are packed and all the things. I'm going to walk through all of it, but it's a lot. It's one of those pieces of being an adult where we're like, again, we all need to be fed again, but we do. That is the reality. So when my children were little and my husband was working far longer hours than I was and commuting downtown every day, I was the one who was responsible for making sure that we were all fed for all of our meals. Sometimes not him, just the rest of us, because my kids would eat dinner so early at like 5:30 and I would eat with them because they went to bed so early. We were really, really big sticklers for early bedtime when our kids were little, because then they would turn into gremlins if they hadn't slept well. And no matter how late they went to sleep, they would still wake up at the same time. And no matter how early they went to sleep, they would still wake up at the same time. So we were really big sticklers for it. So I was responsible for putting dinner on the table for many, many years. And I was like, I am real done with this. I'm no longer interested in this responsibility. Thank you very much. Fortunately for me, my husband, who is amazing all around, but he enjoys cooking. He's much better at it than I am. He's just much less annoyed by things in general. So he's like, okay, cool. I'll make dinner. Plus he enjoys like a real meal. Whereas I am very happy to like stick an Amy's burrito in the microwave, which is one of my frequent lunches. Like I'm very happy with that. He's like, no, give me a protein, give me a starch, give me a veggie. So he'll happily make it for all of us, which is wonderful. So that is some context on how things run in our household. But despite the fact that my husband does the cooking, our meal planning and prep really is a family affair. So I'm going to walk you through how we have significantly eliminated this as a pain point in our family, how we've come up with a system, in a way that works for all of us, where we're not all maybe eating our favorite meal every single night, but at least there is food on the table that everyone will willingly eat. We're not cooking up big fancy meals that then no one eats. So the first thing that we think about when we are doing meal prep at this stage in our lives and with our kids being older and having a lot of activities actually starts with looking at our calendar for the week ahead. We will have a family conversation. We'll look through the calendar. We'll see what night activities are happening each night, who's around, who's not around. And from there, we will decide which are the nights that we are having family dinners together, because some nights we just can't. And of those nights we're having family dinners together, when are we going to have the most amount of time to cook meals that take longer? When are we going to need to be quicker and throw some things together? And I'm going to give you specific examples of what those are. And where are we going to maybe be doing takeout or going out to dinner? So at most, we have 5 home cooked meals a night. We plan in our week to have 2 dinners where we're either out or we're bringing in. It's usually on the weekends, but sometimes there are weeknights where it's just not possible to cook a meal, just given kids having multiple activities late at night. And so then we'll pick up also during the week. And when we plan for that in advance, it means that we are not buying more groceries than we're going to actually use. So we're being less wasteful. So we actually save money that way. And we don't feel badly about it. It doesn't feel like a splurge. It's like, no, this was planned for as we were doing our weekly planning. So even though it's expensive to go out and do takeout, we actually overall save money because we are very planful about our weeks. Okay. So that is big picture, how we think about our meal planning and prep for dinners. The other thing to note is that I do not understand people who like to go grocery shopping multiple times in a week. I know some people do it, or they're like, I just got to pop into this market and pick up this and this market and pop into that. That is not how we operate here. We do our grocery shopping 1 time a week. That's it. We do it all. So we have to be planful about it. And that is for mostly because we don't have the time to go more often. And we have zero desire to go more often also. So there you go. There you have it. Okay. So our trash day is on Fridays. Our trash gets picked up on Fridays. And if you're thinking, why do I care? Well, here's why you should care. Because Thursday night is when I will go through the fridge and see if there's anything that needs to be tossed that is, maybe been expired, that less so that, but just like, is there any food that needs to get thrown out? And because I wanted to get taken out in the garbage so that like it doesn't smell up my garage. So on Thursdays, we're really cleaning out the fridge because Fridays and Saturdays are usually nights that we are not cooking at home. And then we do our grocery shopping either on Saturday or Sunday. So that is sort of the fridge management, pantry management piece of this. I will also go through the pantry, see if there's anything that needs to get tossed. So if you are looking for a system to be going through your fridge, the night before your trash night is a great night to do it. So it's just this automatic cue. It's like, okay, trash goes out tomorrow. Let's go through the fridge. Let's clean it out. If we have leftovers that are still in there from earlier in the week that we know we're not going to eat on Friday, put them down the disposal, put that Tupperware in the dishwasher. So now we've gotten our framework for what the next week is going to be in terms of what meals we're having. We've cleaned out the fridge. Then we can make our grocery list and figure out what meals we're going to be having the next week. Now, a word on our grocery list. I have tried multiple different systems. We've tried having a Google Doc with the most, used things that we get and then printing it off, deleting off what we're not going to use. Like we've tried making it more complicated. Sometimes you make things more complicated when you're trying to make it simple. And what works for us is keeping a very basic notepad in a drawer in the kitchen. And as we run out of things, we just write it on that notepad. Or if the kids have a request, they'll write it on the notepad. When our housekeeper's here, if we run out of laundry detergent or cleaning supply, she'll write it on the notepad. So we already come Saturday have a notepad that has a good amount of items on it that need to be replenished. And then because we've done our calendar planning, we'll come up with what we think we want to have the next week for dinners. We will actually write out those ingredients on the pad, along with just the weekly staples that we need for breakfast, lunch, snacks, all the things. My kids bring lunch to school. My daughter brings lunch every day. My son brings it 4 days a week. So, we make sure all that goes on the grocery list. What we then do, and by we, I mean my husband, is take that list and rewrite it by aisle in the grocery store. So that also makes, not by aisle, but by like category. So that when he goes to the grocery store, or if sometimes I'll go with him, sometimes we all go, usually it's just him. It makes the shopping portion also so much more efficient because it's just grouped by category. So that is fridge and pantry management. That is meal planning. That is our grocery shopping. And then when we get home from groceries, everybody is responsible for putting away groceries. They are responsible, if there's veggies that need to be cut up and rinsed, fruits, berries that need to be rinsed and put in those little produce saver containers that we have. All of that happens over the weekend. And my kids make their lunch for Monday. Okay. So that is how we handle all the grocery shopping pieces. So let's get into what some of our specific meals are. So the other thing to keep in mind is we enjoy being healthy in our house. There are certainly times when we're not. Some of our meals are not healthy, but we are trying to make sure that we're just having well-balanced meals where we're eating food that makes us feel good, that our kids will eat. My son is trying to put on weight, so we're also trying to make sure that we're getting him plenty of protein and plenty of carbs so that he has a diet that nourishes where he is right now and what his goals are. And, through the years, we have tried different types of meals. And so we've got a pretty good list of our regulars that we know the family will eat. Not everyone loves every meal the same, but we know what is going to get eaten and what's not. So for example, my favorite night, and we have it once a week, is when we do salmon. I love having salmon for dinner. I always feel good when I eat it. And my kids eat it. My kids do not love salmon night. It's probably their least favorite night, but they will eat it. Whereas there are other things, like weird things like lasagna, that one of my children just like will not eat. So salmon is one of those things that's my favorite. It's not my kids' favorite, but they will still eat it. And everything else, I think we sort of all kind of enjoy. So our summer meals look a little bit different than our winter meals because we live in New England. And in the spring, summer, and early fall, my husband can grill over the weekend. He'll grill like a bunch of food that we can have throughout the week. Whereas in the winter, we're not doing that. So if it's grilling season, we'll do things like shrimp skewers. We'll grill chicken that we will put in chicken Caesar salad. He might grill a pork loin, which I don't eat. I don't eat really any red meat. Is pork red meat? I don't know. I don't really eat it. But he's making some things that he and my son will eat that my daughter and I are like, no, thank you. But just so that there's sort of like more food. So he's in the warmer months grilling some proteins for us. But here are some of the very simple meals that we eat year round. So if this was the piece you were waiting for, 15 minutes into the episode, you're finally getting some examples of what you can actually make. Okay. So one of the things that is super easy for us to make, and this is a relic back from when I used to make our dinners, is quesadillas. I personally like a cheese quesadilla on a low carb tortilla, but everyone else in the family likes a chicken quesadilla. They are so easy to make. And when we've grilled chicken over the weekend, that's something that we can pop in the quesadilla. Or sometimes we will buy from the pre-made food section, like a piece, like a chicken breast that's already grilled. Sometimes we'll buy the chicken strips. That is sort of like lowest level on the list. But this is one of our examples of like super quick meals. If we are going to be out late, we're not going to get home till like 7 o'clock or even later, and we just don't have time to make a big meal. Quesadillas is one of them. And then we will make cilantro limed rice. And one of my biggest hacks that I discovered when my kids were little is buying those bags of microwavable rice. Don't at me with the microwave being, okay, we pick our spots. Okay. I know it's not the best, but listen, I don't care. Okay. I use the microwave every single day. So that's where we are. So you microwave the bagged rice and you can just eat it like that. I love getting the jasmine rice. It's in the frozen section. If you want to fancy it up a little bit, though, you can squeeze a little lime on it. You can buy some fresh cilantro, chop it up, put it in there, and it tastes like the chipotle rice. So cilantro, lime rice, chicken quesadillas. And if it's a night where we're just really not, that's it, that's all we're cooking, maybe we'll take some baby carrots out of the fridge or sliced. My kids love orange peppers or cucumbers, just something to have a veggie. If we have a bit more time, we use the air fryer for almost all of our veggies. So we will air fry green beans with olive oil. We will if my husband's doing it, he'll buy a head of cauliflower and he'll chop it up. If I'm doing it, I'll buy the pre-bagged, already cut up. But same thing, olive oil, salt, and pepper in the air fryer. It gets, like not crispy like it's fried, but it gets a little browned up. It's delicious. We'll do broccoli. I prefer my broccoli steamed and like really soft. So we'll do steamed broccoli. And actually, when my housekeeper is here, one of the days if we have a head of broccoli in the fridge, she will steam that up for us, pre-cut it, and then we'll again pop it in the microwave to reheat it. So, okay, chicken quesadillas, cilantro lime rice, veggies, super easy meal. I told you about the salmon, but here is how we make it even easier. We have a panini press. And by we, I mean my husband, will season it with lemon and Old Bay seasoning and put it right on the panini press. And then again, we'll have that with rice and veggies. We eat a lot of rice in this house. I love it. My daughter does not love rice. How can you not love rice? I find that so interesting. But anyway, she doesn't love rice. So salmon, rice, and veggies. Another super easy one is homemade Caesar salad. Again, if I'm making it, I'm going to buy the romaine that's already pre-chopped. If my husband's doing it, he's buying like the full heads that he's like rinsing and chopping up. And then we're putting in chicken, either that he's grilled or that, comes in the prepped section that I had already mentioned. And if we're doing a homemade Caesar salad, we're never making the chicken that night, because this is again like would be for a night where we don't have a lot of time. So, kids are getting home late. We need to put something quick on the table, which seems to be most nights lately, because the older your kids get, the later their activities get. Because you think about it, like they put the little ones in the earlier time slots, and then the older your kids get, they get the later and later time slots. So chicken Caesar salad with romaine chicken. We'll put some nice, oh my God, I'm like, my mind isn't working. Some nice Parmesan cheese. Is that the word I'm looking for? I think so. Either grated or shredded. We use healthier dressings, like organic dressings. And I love a chopped salad. So my hack for just, zhuzhing it up a little bit is chopping the salad with a pizza slicer cutter thing, like a pizza roller. What do you call it? Not a roller, pizza slicer, that thing. If you have your salad in a big mixing bowl and you use that slicer in it, you can make yourself a chopped salad. So that's delicious. And we'll usually pop sweet potato fries in the oven or even in the air fryer. So chicken Caesar salad with sweet potato fries. Yes, that come in a bag frozen. Obviously, you know by now that I'm not chopping up my potatoes to have them on the side. Okay. Another super easy night is breakfast for dinner. So we'll just do a big pan of eggs. We'll do turkey bacon. We'll do, we usually buy nice loaves of sourdough bread. So we'll have some sourdough toast with it. And again, some veggies. So those are all our super easy nights. And then if we're doing something a bit more complicated, we've been loving having shrimp tacos. So if, depending on sort of where in the week the these meals fall. We try to eat the stuff that's been grilled closer to the day that it's been made, but I don't get overly concerned about things being in the fridge for several days. So make your own shrimp tacos where we'll have, the grilled shrimp skewers, and then everyone can pick their tortilla. I like flour. My daughter likes corn. We'll have rice. We'll make homemade guac. Try get super ripe avocados or let them ripen throughout the week and put, spices and cilantro in it. So we'll have shrimp tacos with guac. So those are some of the things that we have on rotation. I don't love eating pasta for dinner. I just don't love it. But my husband and kids do. So there are meals that he'll make for them if I'm going to be out for whatever reason. Like he'll just do basic pasta. Sometimes he'll put things in it. But, and then if I am in charge of dinner, my husband's not there, I am 100% of the time ordering in or taking my kids out. I'm just not interested. So those are some examples, some very specific examples of what I feel like are relatively healthy, well-balanced, but super quick meals that we can make. Over the weekend, we might do something in a crock pot that's going to be cooking all day long, like a chili, although my kids don't love beans. My husband might do a brisket or pulled pork in the crock pot. So there are definitely, some other things in our rotation. And every few weeks, my husband tries to, he'll open a cookbook and come up with something new to try just because he thinks it's fun, like to do on a Sunday. I'm like, that is not fun for me. But if it is fun for you, honey, go on with your bad self. Put on your music, make something, and we'll see if we enjoy it. So we've got our rotation of things that are just easy, healthy, quick. For me, it is more important that we all sit down together and eat as many nights as possible than that we are spending all of this time cooking a meal and then, feeling tired from the cooking and then feeling like there's so much cleanup to do. I'd rather have that time together as a family. And this really works for us. So hopefully that feels like it's sparking some ideas for you about, even if you don't love the specific ideas I just gave you, of like, oh my gosh, I could make this so much easier. Do we get bored of having the same things over and over again? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say my kids say no. I think my husband would like there to be more variety, but it is what it is. But we do take out, we go out. So we add some variety in that way. My kids don't like eating the same thing 2 nights in a row. Like if there's leftovers of something, none of those things we just mentioned typically have leftovers. Sometimes my husband, like I said, will make a lasagna, which one of my kids just doesn't want to eat, period. So they just don't like eating necessarily the same thing 2 times in a row. I personally am unbothered by that, but we do, what the kids eat what we make. That's it, period. There are no substitutions at these ages. As a reminder, my kids are 14 and 11. It's not like back in the day where you wanted your kids to be fed, so you'd give them anything. Like dinner is dinner and everyone's going to eat it. But having said that, we do try and stick with things that we know for the most part everyone's going to eat. So because we do still want them to be fed, even though they're older. It is still a priority. Okay, so that's dinners. So let's talk about lunches. So my kids weirdly would not eat sandwiches when they were younger, like just any kind of sandwich. Peanut butter was banned for when they were younger, which I totally get for all the kids that have allergies. And my kids never could get into sun butters or whatever. And like they weren't really into deli meats. Lunches were much more of a struggle when they were younger. Now my kids will eat sandwiches. So the key is we'll buy nice breads from the bakery. We usually get a sliced sourdough loaf. You will never catch me making my own sourdough bread. Like so many people that I follow on Instagram and even some of my friends, it's a hard pass for me. Not happening, because you can very easily just go to the grocery store and buy a lovely sliced loaf of sourdough. And then we usually also get a sliced loaf of Tuscan bread. My son prefers that. My daughter prefers the sourdough, and then we'll have it for like toast for breakfast too. Okay. So now they do eat sandwiches with different types of cold cuts. So their lunches are sandwiches. And then I always pack them a side of either baby carrots, sliced peppers, or cucumbers, still in their little tiny Tupperware things from when they were littler. And my son doesn't love fruit. He never has, other than mango. But he doesn't bring a fruit to school. My daughter usually also brings a fruit. Lately, it's been blackberries. She's very into berries. So a fruit, a veggie, a main side, and then like 1,001 snacks, as many snacks as they can possibly fit into their lunch boxes. And we buy a variety of different snacks bags, some healthier than others. We'll have some Kind bars and some Pirate Booty, and we'll have pretzels. And then we'll also have like Ruffles potato chips and Made Good, even though we have no allergies in the house. My daughter does a little bit of a gluten sensitivity, and we've got a lot of friends that come here that have severe allergies. So I love having lots of Made Good products because then they're friends who are celiac or have nut allergies can have all the Made Good snacks. They're so, and my kids love them. So lots of different salty snacks, sweet snacks that go in their lunches. So, and then for breakfast, my daughter loves to make herself either an avocado toast or fried eggs, and my son will put waffles in the toaster oven and basically eat that. So we always have those things on hand. So there you go. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Now for my husband, he gets lunch out when he commutes downtown. And I already shared with you my favorite lunch, not just because it's so super quick and convenient, but because I just love it. I love having an Amy's burrito for lunch. I'll just pop it in the microwave, 2.5 minutes, turn it over halfway through. And like that for me is a delicious lunch. I have a bigger breakfast. I used to eat like a super small breakfast, like a bar, and then I'd want a bigger lunch. I have more time first thing in the morning. So I usually make myself 2 fried eggs on gluten-free toast, sometimes add avocado, sometimes not. So I have that for breakfast, and then I'll have a smaller lunch. And then you already know now what I have for dinner. And then what do I like for snacks? I love having like cheese sticks. I love eating Pirate's Booty. That's it. And then for takeout, I love having Indian food or Thai food or sushi. I like Italian less, although there's one local pizza place that makes delicious gluten-free pizza with this amazing creamy Greek dressing that I like to dip the pizza in. Anyway, so we've got our go-tos for our ordering out. So that's it. That is how we do it. Now, I just want to share another sort of few, I don't know, tips around how we sort of think about and frame healthy eating. So my daughter asked me once something she was eating. She started asking like, is this good for me? Is this good for us? And I'd be like, yes, no, right? Like veggie's good. And then I realized like, it's really not that binary. And so I said to her, all food is good for us. Some is good for our bodies and some is good for our souls. And that is really how I think about food. We don't really have good and bad food. We don't talk about it in that way. Obviously, there are foods that are healthier for our bodies, that are nourishing our bodies. I was saying that my son is trying to put on weight for sports. And so we're trying to do that in a very healthy, nourishing way. So we definitely talk about how we can fuel our bodies and how we can nourish our bodies. And it's fine to have certain goals, but no foods are off limits. We've got plenty of what I would call junk food because it is still junk, but it's good for the soul. Sometimes you got to eat those foods, maybe a little bit each day. And so that is really our philosophy around it. I grew up in a house where it was very rigid around these are bad foods and we're not going to have them in the house. And I don't feel like it did me any favors. I feel like I had a lot of undoing to, in my mindset around forbidden foods and foods that we could eat. And I don't want to live that way. And I don't want my kids to live that way either. There were, and if you've been around here for a while, like way before the podcast, if you've followed me on Instagram, I used to share a lot of my keto hacks and snacks and stuff. I was never fully on keto, but I did, and I have really for many, many years been on the lower carb lifestyle. And I really don't do that anymore. I do try to limit my gluten because some food with gluten you just don't feel good. And my whole goal is to feel good and be energized first and foremost. Then, but slightly below that is to look good. I am very vain, which I've shared many times. But first and foremost, I want to feel good. And so for me, eating a lot of sugary foods, heavier foods, carby foods, glutinous foods earlier in the day just don't work for me. So where I can make a gluten-free swap that I feel like it's just as good and is not going to leave you like craving the real thing, I will do it. Canyon Bakehouse is my favorite gluten-free bread. That's so delicious. It's usually in the freezer section if you're looking for it. So, some of the gluten-free bread is disgusting. This one I prefer to regular bread. So there are swaps that I make where I'm like, oh, I actually prefer the gluten-free option. But again, gluten-free is not keto. It's still carbs. So I've really gotten away from the like diet food culture. There are still some things I do. Like I love a Diet Coke. I still put stevia in my coffee instead of actual sugar because I don't get overly concerned about the chemicals. But for me, it's more about I want to have the real version of it. And so I really do think through like what helps keep my migraines at bay, what helps keep me most energized. And so, as I was walking through our meal planning and prepping, yes, it's to eliminate the pain points of like the time and the stress and the frustration and getting all the kids on board. But really, we are thinking about meals that make all of us feel good and aren't going to be like a brick in our stomachs, and that we're trying to have balance throughout the day because it is so important to have all of that. And, I'm a eat dessert most nights kind of person. I try to save the more sugary foods that I'm eating towards the end of the night because if I have it during the day, I'll either just like keep eating more of it or it does just drag me down. It doesn't give me that little pick me up. For me, it's like, this is a little nice way to end the night. So we think about all of this meal planning and prep as just more almost self-care. Like how do we set up really strong routines and make life feel easier without having to do a trade-off of eating things that just don't feel good for us. It is possible to have it all, to figure out ways to make it much less painful and still eat things that are good for you. And this is sort of, a bit tangential, but the kids set the table for dinner. We all, as a family, help clean up. I will try to do more of the cleanup than my husband because he's the one who's cooked, and I am better at cleaning and I enjoy cleaning more than I do the cooking piece. It ends up being a group effort because then we, it's our time to kind of catch up and chit chat. But oftentimes I'll be the one that cleans up. So there is a nice, not only division of labor, but family effort involved. And that is all really a piece of it. Also, it's not like mommy and daddy are responsible for putting food on the table. Like, yes, but also this is a family affair. We're all being fed, so we are all participating in this. So meal prep will save you so much time, energy, and frustration. That is your big takeaway. And when you do it well, it takes the guesswork out of it. And remember to build in those nights for takeout or for going out to eat, and don't feel guilty about it. Like I said, when you plan for it in advance and you don't overbuy groceries, you're not having, that Thursday night clean out of the fridge that I do is usually very minimal. Our goal by Thursday night is to have the fridge very empty out. One of my kids buys lunch on Fridays, and the other, will make sure that there's enough lunch for her to bring. But like we want to be pretty cleaned out by the end of the week. That makes us feel good. And then we fill up the fridge again with a healthy haul of food. So focus on simple and healthy. And this episode is timely because inside the G&G membership, we are focusing on organizing our kitchens. And in any space of the membership, we're not just talking about how to physically organize it, but actually then how do you create lifestyle habits and routines that support the life that you want. And the more organized your kitchen is, the easier all of this becomes. And you see that throughout your life and your home. I hope you make this an amazing day and, go have some healthy, delicious meals that feed your body and your soul.